Dr. Shankopotamus here. We're going to be working on the 2000 F250 right here. Might have some videos on the Mustang later on as well, but today we're working on the F250. I'm going to be changing out, let's go around this way so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to be changing out the oil cooler. Alrighty, get right up underneath here, and there is the end of your oil cooler. Comes in just above engine block heater right here. Obviously, big old oil filter. I'm not going to change the oil today, it's just been done recently. It's only the same oil in, but take the filter off to get to it. This is the back end, it's the rear part of your oil cooler. Oil cooler is right here, all right? This thing's got about almost 200,000 miles on it, and I'm fairly certain it has never been changed. If you go through the manual, the Ford manual, there is a way to test that for flow, see if there's any flow problems. But everything I've read about it, it definitely got flow problems by now, almost 200,000 miles. The small holes in there start to get occluded and kind of gummed up. It doesn't cool the oil properly. You're going to have to take off here the connector for the oil filter. Right here behind the oil filter is your plug for your cylinder drain, to drain your cylinder block right there for your coolant. There's another one on the other side from where I am, and I'll show you. So come around to this side of the car, and you can see here where the starter is up underneath here. The other, the passenger side drain plug is just up and above the starter. I think you can reach it if you come over the top. I've already got it up on the lift. I'm just going to leave it. I've seen several people online who did this with only draining the cylinder block on the driver's side and then taking it off. The Ford manual recommends that you come up here. It's more towards the front part of the car, the truck here. And if you can see this, you've got a drain plug. Whoops, sorry, it's kind of right behind that, isn't it? Let's come around here a little bit. You got a drain plug right here for your radiator. Ford recommends draining the whole thing. It's been a while since I've changed the radiator, the coolant in this car, or in this truck, so I'm going to go ahead and drain all the coolant, toss it, and refill it. And by draining there in the back, right over that way, on the cylinder block, should have enough coolant out of the way to be able to do this without any problems. Now the Ford manual makes this thing sound easy. It just says, unhook the back, unhook the front, pull it off, put a new one back on. You can probably do this in maybe 30 minutes if you really get everything together and come and do it. A couple of things. Go back around here to the front. Let me show you. I do mention this later on in the video, but go ahead and take this hose, your lower hose off here. It makes it so much easier. Pop that and off you come. So much easier. If you want to, take off this ground wire too right here. It's just one screw, and then you have access to the front of your oil cooler right there. Now this bolt is the key to getting it back on. Make that the last bolt you take off. Okay, you have a lot more trouble getting the top bolt out. It kind of gets a kink sort of gets cockeyed, and it kind of splints against the bolt, makes it hard to get it out on the top. So take your top one out first. The other thing is, go through, look on the other side, go through right here, get your top bolt. So much easier. You need a long extension, but it'll save you tons of time. Just go right through there, bam, it's right off. Okay. The other thing, once you have your your oil cooler out and you're working on it on the table like we were over here, you'll see on the video, I use this for putting the oil cooler back together. I did one thing first that did not work. Do not put the smaller black O-rings inside. I tried putting those inside of the ends, sliding the oil cooler in on top of them with the large green ones already on the cooler. Doesn't work. They catch and they just won't slide for whatever reason. Put both of these onto the oil cooler itself and then slide them in. It still takes quite a bit of pressure. I found that using a pipe wrench like this slid right together. No worries. I think that's about it. You do those couple of things and I think you'll see it go a lot quicker and a lot smoother. Okay, here's a quick picture of the shop manual that I'm using. straight from Ford. I also have it on disc, but I've got this out here today. I'd recommend anytime you're working on a car, I go online and check out what everybody else has done too, and take information from that is a great place. YouTube, obviously, where you're looking at today. But I'd recommend, if you can, get a hold of the actual manuals from the manufacturer. This is a Ford shop manual because it's been a little bit used, a little bit older. Again, a good eBay buy here too. We're going to open up and go to the oil cooler on this. Here's the parts we're going to be putting on today. This is a kit that I got from Rock Auto. Okay, and you've got your new seals. You've got your new gaskets. Okay, right here. Then you have the oil cooler itself. I'm just opening this thing up. I haven't even taken it apart yet. But here's your oil cooler, and here's why you have trouble with it. Look down in there. My oil cooler has got almost 200,000 miles on it. Never been changed. So I'm guessing some of those holes are not quite as patent as they used to be. There is I think I mentioned this before, there's a process in here for checking your current one. Pull it off and do a test on a pressure test on it. At 200,000 miles, I don't see any reason to do that. I'm just going to replace it. I've already got to take it off anyway. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Let's see if you guys can see that. It's kind of hard. Any of you who want to do the internal leakage test on your oil cooler, I'm not going to go through it, but there's how it's done. You're going to freeze frame that and read it. It's pretty short instructions on how to do it and how to check it. Okay, so here's what the manual has to say about it. See the oil cooler up here. Hopefully it's as simple as they make it out to be. Drain. All right. What does it say? Take out the block heater, undo the bolts, and off it comes. It's never that easy. So we'll get in here and see if we can get this thing off, but it's never that easy. And then you install it. I'm going to give you guys the torques here, the tightening torques for the rear head of the oil cooler that also contains the oil filter. Right there you can see is 24 Newton meters, just while we're at it. 24 Newton meters on the front as well as your tightening torques for those bolts. So we're underneath the driver's side front. This is your drain for your radiator right here. I'm going to take the fluid out. 19 millimeter wrench. Fits it perfectly. All right. And we just do a little loosening them up in here. I got a 5-gallon bucket ready to go down here. And we're just going to get some radiator fluid, get some coolant out of here. How about it? Oh, how about that? I guess we're going to be replacing our coolant drain plug. That's a fine how do you do. How about that? Huh. Well, it's got an internal. See that? Wait, where? It's got an internal on it. This is just to show you sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go. It's been on there way too many years, I'm guessing. I haven't drained it in years, and it looks like it didn't want to work with me. So I'm going to get a hex to go in the center of that, and we'll fix it up. Okay, see if we can get this up in here. Here we go. So my little plug broke off. A 8 millimeter hex does fit into it. So we're going to use that to get the plug undone. And I'll just go back later and replace the plug. Honestly, the fluid doesn't look too bad. I mean, it looks pretty clean. But I'm still going to go ahead and replace it since I'm at it anyway. But there's a few things that you can do. Let's see if this works for us. Alrighty, let that drain for a bit, and we'll move on. Alright, so get hold of the oil filter and get it off. Right here, can you see this little bad boy? There he is. Great little tool. Let me show you. Okay. Just fixed into a 3/8 ratchet. Alright. Great way to get them off. This is about the biggest oil filter this thing will fit, but Great little gizmo here. Be sure that you're not twisting so hard that you put any dents into it, okay? Scraping a little paint here on the edges, no big deal. Just don't dent it. Try to get it off. And I'll tell you what, I've had a little change of heart here. They didn't say that you had to actually change all the oil, just top it off after you pull the filter off and put it back on. My oil coming out of there looks like crap. So I'm going to go ahead, and while we're messing with this, I'm just going to change it all out. You can see it's a pretty dark color, even though it hasn't been that long. I am a little rough on it. Maybe that's what's happened to it. So I'm going to go ahead and make this an oil change as well, and we'll worry about that a little later on. But I'll get this off and we'll work with it. But see the color of the oil, if that comes out like that, you might want to go ahead and just say, hey, yeah, time to change them out. Alrighty. Just thin it off. I like wearing these rubber gloves when I'm doing this kind of work as opposed to my leather gloves. I've got some other gloves that are made, there we go, for working with oils and solvents and things like that, but these cheap throwaways actually tend to work better than just about anything. Yeah, that oil's coming out looking pretty darn nasty. So, I'm going to go with an oil change on this bad boy. Alright. Okay, so when you come around to the side, this is the driver's side of the truck. There is a drain for the cylinder, sorry, not the cinder block, the cylinder block. Right behind where the oil filter comes off, there's two plugs. The top one, the smaller one, is the one that you want. There's one very similar to on the other side, but I'm not going to worry with that one. Okay, so you can see the two bolts, two plugs. All it takes is a 1/4" drive right up inside of it. I hope that's all it takes. A little bit of elbow grease, and it'll start moving for you. I'm not sure exactly how much we're going to get out of this, so I'm going to start going pretty slow first till I figure it out. I know my hand's in the way of the camera, but that's the only way to get this done without having fluid everywhere. Not too much coming out. Try to dry it off up here a little bit, and of course it's going to keep coming out. Just try not to shove any dirt back into it. Okay? I'm going to coat it with a little bit of red thread locker. I like the gel stuff. It sticks a little better. You can tell by looking at this plug, it had red on it. I'm guessing for mine from the factory. It's only anybody's touched this thing in forever. Another little tidbit I'll share with you. Not only am I Dr. Shankopotamus, but I'm actually a doctor. Don't just play one on TV. So, this fluid coming out of here, you should go right back in, can be very, very harmful. Okay, it splashes around, gets onto your face at all. Do not let this stuff into your mouth. If it's around your mouth, go wash your face off immediately. It does not take much of this coolant to actually cause a poisoning. Okay, I've had patients who accidentally drank it because they put it in a mellow yellow bottle. I don't know how that happens, but it does. But just a public service announcement. Be really careful with this stuff. Also, if you don't dispose of it immediately or soon thereafter, be sure you cover your bucket. Okay, you put it in an open bucket and you have got pets or neighborhood pets anywhere, I don't recommend you try it, but the stuff tastes very sweet. Ethylene glycol, okay? Glycol, glycogen, sugar, tastes sweet. Dogs, cats, whatever will lick this stuff up and they will be dead before you know it. So, Don't ever leave this stuff sitting out open. Don't ever let it get on your face. If it does, wash it off immediately. If you've got an open container before you can take it to a recycle place, cover it. All right? Okay, so you'll see on this block heater, there's a little retaining clip right here. So I got these bolts loosened up here. It said 10 millimeter. I put it on a 1/2-inch drive just to break them loose, because I really don't think they've been off in almost 200,000 miles. So get these on off the rest of the way, and then we're golden. So we've got it loosened up, and still getting quite a bit of coolant coming out from behind it, as you can see. But our back end is off now, so we'll head to the front. All right. So according to the manual, you don't have to take this coolant hose off. I mentioned I thought I might, but now I got good light up underneath here. I think it's possible, yeah, to get right to it. Let me see if I can show you guys. Yeah, I think I can get it here with a little extension. I can get it here. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Bring the camera around just a little bit. I know it's a little jumpy. Flip this over just to give you guys a better view of what I'm looking at. See right there, there's the hose. I thought I'd have to take it off. I can actually get to that pretty easily coming around the back. Okay, right there, you can see me coming across. Another one up top. And you can get that little extension, little angle on it. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave that hose on, give this a try. And once you're disconnected, clean it off, slide off the back. I'm gonna go ahead and go for it. All right, so we're back at the bench now. Got our oil cooler out. Bring a little oil back there, that's good. Couple of things. I watched a couple YouTube videos and several guys took it off like I did from the back first and then the front. The shop manual says to take off the front first. I'll tell you the way that it sits, if you take off the back first, be sure you take off the top bolt first, because when this thing starts to rock a little bit from the weight, it pinches that bolt and it just never loosens up. It's really hard to get it out the rest of the way. My recommendation after doing this once would be just go by what the manual says. Start in the front off first, you get easier access to the back off, and then you're out. Okay. Another thing about this, these gaskets are metal, firm gaskets, rubber lined. Okay. You can tell from the factory, like this one, there's nothing between the gasket and the engine, or between the gasket and the adapters for the oil coolers. So don't go putting a bunch of gasket maker on top of these things. You'll mess them up. They're made to be used without any kind of gasket maker on top of them. And the shop manual verifies that. They don't say anything about putting any kind of gasket material on them. Just clean everything real well. It also makes it easy to clean. You don't have to go in there and scrape a bunch of crap off of your engine and your oil cooler here. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this thing off, get this thing apart, clean this up a little bit, put it back together. We're good to go. All right, so the fore end is off. Comes off pretty easy. Just a little light tap with a hammer. Obviously, you don't want to smack the fire. You don't want to damage anything. You'll see the O-ring down inside of there. The kit comes with a replacement O-ring. Gonna try to clean all this off. Clean all this off. I could care less about this. So we get all this cleaned out. Get any kind of gunk out of it. Try to prevent dirt from getting into it. Probably going to take this to the sink over there and scrub this thing too, just to get some of this crap off the outside of it, so it doesn't end up back in my tube here. Same thing with the other end. So let me get this one on off, and we're golden. All right, here's another thing that comes in really handy. If you don't have one, I'd recommend getting one. That's a scraper. It's just a metal, almost like a screwdriver. Got a few extra blades in the back here. long vent so you get a little bit of an angle on it, a little bit of power to it, just for scraping off the leftover gasket material. In this case, there's very little. Like I mentioned before, they're metal. Where have they gone here? Metal with a little plastic on the inside of them. The plastic rims around the inside of them. There you go. But on the rear connection to the car or the truck, up against the block, there was some of the plastic still stuck there. This thing takes it right off. Anyway, good little tool to have. Okay, so here we've got the O-rings. There's two sizes. There's this black one, a little bit larger one that is the green one, and you'll see when you take them off, the black goes. I have my new cooler right here. You can tell when you take the cooler out. When you pull the cooler out, get this. It has got openings here and openings here for the flow, right? Be sure it's got little tabs. The one that I took off has a little bigger tab, but still this gives you a location. So O-rings are on there. Let's get the other end. You want to line them up with the notch on here, notch on here. Okay, a little bar on here, and we're going together. Might be a little hard to push them together. I've got some clamps I'm going to try to use to pull them together once I get the ends on. But I tell you, the fit is very tight. The fit is very tight. I think maybe in the past it's been a shop press or something they have used to push these together. If you've got one, I think you probably could. I'm very careful with it, but I think that you probably could. However, this clamp works just fine. Okay. So that's what you're going to want to do. And once they're seated, okay, voila. And as you need to, you can turn this one just a little bit to get him to line up, so he'll turn a little bit. And there it is. Whoop. Ready to mount. Now we'll put the gaskets on there first. Remember I said they're metal. They got a rubber insert in them for the to form the gasket. Do not put gasket maker and rubbery crap on these things. Plus it'll get into your system and then you'll have a mess. But I'm going to get these back on. You saw where it came off. I don't know if I'm going to put everything back on, but I'm going to get these back on. You hook up the front, okay? Then you hook in the back. Don't tighten everything down yet. Once you got the front and the back in, then torque it all down, okay? And I showed you what the torques were. It's 24 Newton meters on the front, on the back, and 24 Newton meters on the front. Okay, just cleaning these bolts off that secure your oil cooler to the cylinder block. A couple of the ones in the front had oil all up and down the shaft of the screw, of the bolt, and that just tells me that was where my oil leak that I saw in the front was coming from, right around here. Just like I did before, I'll take these and I'll put a little dab of my red thread lock in the blue package. I'm not sure how that works, but that's how it works. Put some of that on the end of these and get my gaskets in. Okay, so you can see once you get it in, lines up here. Here's the intake, and then once we're in this hole up here, we're golden. Okay, I'm going to say yes to taking this off. Getting this clamp out of your way, it's just going to be so much easier to get this thing back on. I'm going to drop that down. We'll see how much easier it is. All right, I'm going to say yes to taking that off. Hopefully you guys watch this all the way through. You got started, saw some of my mistakes and hardships and pain in the fannies, but now being able to reach and work in that area, I'd say you could even take off this negative ground right here if you wanted to. And if I have any more trouble, that's the next thing. I'll pop that off so I can actually get to this thing easily. No reason to make life harder and harder on yourself. Go up underneath here. And yeah, I think I can actually get to it now much easier than I was before. Yeah. All right, hopefully this will save y'all some time. After fiddling with this thing front and back, back and front. Probably the two things, I lowered the truck just a little bit. Get my hands up in there. But finally figured out this is your pivotal screw, the lower screw in the front. When you start to mess with trying to raise it and lower it and make it fit, that's the only screw that easily fits without the oil cooler itself lined up properly. So once you have that one in, we're going to tighten it on down just a little bit, not completely tight. Make sure you have your top screw and your gasket in place. It's going to be hard to get it in if you don't. Then we'll head to the back. I'll lift up the back, get one screw in to secure that, come back to the front. So everything should go together. But this, where is he? This, that's the screw you want, the lower front screw. If you're doing it by yourself. Best thing would be is to have somebody in the back helping you lift it up, straighten it out for you, hold it while you put the screws in. But anyway, hopefully that'll save you guys a lot of time because that took me a good 30 minutes to figure that out. Here's another thing to keep around the shop. Dielectric grease. Okay. Finally got it back together. It's on there. It worked. It's torqued down. It's all good. But I'm going to put some of this in to kind of seal off the connection with the block heater up there. Just keep some handy. Well, thanks for listening and thanks for watching.